My old house kind of breathes around me, like a cozy sound of wood and memories settling in. Something I've gotten used to over the 15 years since Robert passed away. But then one quiet afternoon, a surprise phone call and a special gift turned my whole world brighter and full of stars I never expected to see. Most days, the quiet is like a nice friend, a soft blanket keeping out the noisy world. But sometimes, especially when the afternoon light starts to fade and throws long shadows across the living room floor, the silence can feel a bit too loud. It was on one of those days that the phone rang, sharp and pushy, pulling me away from a lazy try at sorting through a box of old photos. It was Sandra, my friend for 40 years. Her voice, all bubbly and full of the same fun energy from when we were teens, came through the phone. We chatted about the usual stuff her week, my week, the tough weeds in my garden, her new fun with pickleball. "Oh, Carol, I almost forgot the real reason I called," she said, her voice getting all excited. "Leo's coming into town next week. He'll be staying for a few days before he heads up north for that big architecture project." A real smile spread across my face. Leo. I still saw him as a tall, skinny 16-year-old with messy brown hair and a big grin full of braces, trying to teach me how to play on his new video game console. I'd known him his whole life, watched him grow from a curious little kid into a thoughtful, kind of quiet young man. He'd been living on the West Coast for almost 10 years now, and I hadn't seen him in person for at least 5 years. "That's wonderful, Sandy," I said. "It will be so good to see him. Is he ... And he has something for you," she cut in, not able to hold back her excitement. "He specifically said he needs to drop something off for you. A gift." I paused, the old photos in my lap forgotten. "A gift? For me? What on earth for?" "He wouldn't tell me," she chirped. "You know how he gets all mysterious. Just said it was something he's been meaning to give you for a while. He's going to call you to set up a time to stop by." The rest of our chat was a blur of guessing, but after we hung up, a strange kind of unease settled over me. A gift from Leo, a young man in his early 30s, busy with his job and his life had gotten a gift for his mom's old friend. It was sweet, of course, but also confusing. I couldn't imagine what it could be. We sent nice Christmas cards, and I always mailed a check for his birthday. But we weren't in the habit of giving each other gifts. For the next few days, the thought of his visit and the mystery present buzzed in the back of my mind. I found myself looking around my little house, seeing it like I thought he might see it. The worn, comfy armchair where I read every evening, the shelves full of books, the faint smell of lemon oil and old paper. It was a home that felt lived in, a home that held the shape of a quiet life. I wondered if it would just look old to him. The call came on a Tuesday evening. His voice was deeper than I remembered, smoother, but the same gentle rhythm was there. "Aunt Carol," he said, and the old nickname warmed me from the inside out. "It's Leo." "Leo, honey, it's so good to hear your voice." Of course she did. "I'm so looking forward to seeing you." "You too." "Listen, I know it's short notice, but would it be all right if I stopped by tomorrow evening? I have something I'd like to give you." There it was again, the gift. "I would love that," I told him. "My door is always open for you." We set a time, and as I hung up the phone, a flutter of excitement mixed with a good dose of curiosity stirred in my chest. It felt strange, this feeling. It had been a long time since I had something to look forward to that wasn't just a new season of a show I liked or the blooming of my prize-winning roses. The silence in the house didn't seem so loud that night. It felt watchful, waiting, just like me. The next evening I did something I hadn't done in years. I fussed. I changed my blouse twice, finally picking a simple blue one that brought out the color of my eyes. I tidied up the living room, even though it was already clean, and I baked a batch of my special oatmeal raisin cookies. The kind Leo used to eat up as a boy. The yummy smell filled the small house, a comforting scent of normalcy that calmed my nerves. Right at 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath, smoothed down my blouse one last time, and walked to the door. When I opened it, the man standing on my porch made me catch my breath. The skinny teenager was gone. In his place stood a tall, confident man with broad shoulders and the same kind, smart eyes I remembered. His hair was shorter, neater, and a faint shadow of a beard dusted his jawline. But the smile that broke across his face when he saw me was pure, real Leo. "Aunt Carol," he said, his voice a warm baritone. He stepped forward and wrapped me in a gentle hug. He smelled faintly of pine and clean air. For a moment I was so surprised by the man he'd become that I forgot all about the mystery gift. He was the gift seeing him. Seeing the fine man he had grown into felt like a gift in itself. He stepped back, still smiling. In his hands he held a long cloth-wrapped object. "I hope I'm not interrupting your evening," he said. "Never," I breathed, finally finding my voice. Come in, come in." I baked cookies. His grin widened. "You see, I knew I came to the right place." He followed me into the living room, placing the long, awkward package gently on the floor before taking a seat on the sofa. I bustled around, getting him a plate of cookies and a glass of iced tea, my hands moving with a purpose they hadn't felt in a while. The initial awkwardness of bridging a 5-year gap melted away as we fell into easy conversation. He asked about my garden, and I asked about his project. He talked about his life in Portland, the hiking, the rain, the vibrant food scene. It was all so different from my quiet existence, yet he spoke without a hint of looking down, only a real desire to share. Finally, after we'd caught up, his eyes drifted to the package on the floor. "Well," he said a little shyly, "guess I should give you this." He reached down and began to unwrap it. The cloth fell away to reveal a sleek, dark tube mounted on a sturdy tripod. It was a telescope, a beautiful, serious-looking telescope. I stared at it, completely confused. "Leo, I don't understand. It's beautiful, but..." He looked up at me, his expression earnest. "Do you remember a long, long time ago? I was probably about 12. We were sitting on this very porch one night, and you were telling me about the stars. You said you'd always dreamed of having a real telescope, not just binoculars, so you could see the rings of Saturn for yourself." The memory, buried under decades of living, came rushing back with stunning clarity. A warm summer night, the smell of honeysuckle in the air, a younger version of me pointing out the constellations to a quiet, curious boy who seemed to hang on my every word. I had completely forgotten that conversation, but he hadn't. After all these years, he had remembered a fleeting wish I had expressed and forgotten myself. Tears pricked my eyes. "You remembered that?" I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "I remember everything you ever told me," he said softly. "You always spoke to me like I was a person, not just a kid. You taught me what a nebula was. I never forgot that." He paused, looking from the telescope to me. "The gift isn't just the telescope, Aunt Carol. The gift is, if you'll let me, I'd like to set it up for you tonight and show you Saturn." And that's when I understood. The true gift wasn't the object itself. It was the memory. It was the breathtaking realization that you can say something, small and insignificant, and have it land in someone's heart and stay there for 20 years. What came with the telescope was a piece of my own forgotten history, delivered by a young man who had held it carefully in his memory all this time. It was the feeling of being seen, truly seen. We carried it out to the back garden, into the deep, velvety darkness away from the streetlights. The air was cool and smelled of damp earth, and the night-blooming jasmine I had planted along the fence. Crickets chirped their steady chorus, a peaceful soundtrack to our quiet movements. As Leo expertly assembled the tripod and mounted the scope, we continued to talk. The conversation deepened, flowing as easily as the creek at the bottom of the hill. He asked me about my life before this house, before his mother was my best friend, before my world had shrunk to these four walls and this garden. He asked about my dreams. It wasn't an intrusive question. It was posed with such genuine curiosity that I found myself opening up in a way I hadn't with anyone in years. I told him about my youthful ambition to study art history in Italy, a dream derailed by family obligations and then marriage. I spoke of Robert, of our quiet love and the gaping hole his absence had left. Leo listened. He didn't offer platitudes or easy comforts. He just listened, his head tilted slightly, his eyes reflecting the faint starlight. He shared his own vulnerabilities, his fears about the massive project he was leading, the pressure to live up to everyone's expectations. In the shared intimacy of the dark, we weren't an older woman and her friend's son. We were just two people sharing truths under a canopy of infinite possibilities. Then he straightened up. "Okay," he said, his voice hushed with reverence. "It's ready. Come and look." I bent down and put my eye to the eyepiece, my heart thumping. He gently adjusted a knob, and the blurry speck of light sharpened into a perfect, tiny, glowing orb suspended in the blackness, encircled by a series of impossibly delicate rings. It was Saturn. It was real. A gasp escaped my lips. It was more magical than I had ever imagined. "Oh, Leo," was all I could manage to say. "Right?" he said, his voice full of warmth beside me. "It gets me every time." He spent the next hour acting as my cosmic tour guide, patiently pointing the scope to a distant, hazy galaxy, a cluster of stars that looked like scattered diamonds. On black velvet, the rugged, cratered surface of the moon. With each new celestial wonder, I felt a layer of dust being brushed off my own soul. I wasn't just Carol the widow, the quiet neighbor. I was an explorer, a traveler of the cosmos, witnessing ancient light from my own backyard. The experience was more than just looking at stars. It was a profound and unexpected connection, both to the universe and to the thoughtful man standing next to me. The respect was mutual. He respected my forgotten dreams, and I was in awe of the depth of his character. It was a shared moment, of wonder that felt sacred, a secret handshake between two generations. When it was time for him to leave, the hug at the door was different. It was longer, filled with an unspoken understanding. The house no longer felt empty when he drove away. It felt energized. The telescope stood in the corner of my living room like a silent, promising sentinel. In the days that followed, the house was different. The silence wasn't lonely anymore, it was peaceful. I'd run my hand over the cool metal of the telescope and smile. Leo had left me with more than just an instrument for stargazing. He had left me with a new lens through which to see my own life. I started taking it out into the garden by myself on clear nights. At first I was clumsy, fumbling with the knobs, and consulting the star charts he'd left for me. But slowly I learned. I found Saturn on my own, then Jupiter with its 4 tiny moons dancing in a line. I learned to identify constellations I'd only known by name. The universe, which had always felt so abstract and distant, became my neighborhood. This new hobby pulled me out of the comfortable rut I hadn't even realized I was in. It gave me a reason to stay up late, to be excited about the coming of darkness. A week later, I called Sandra. "Well?" she asked, not even bothering with her. "Hello. Did you get it? What was it?" I laughed, a full, happy sound. He gave me the stars, Sandy. I told her everything about the telescope, about the memory he'd carried for 20 years, about our conversation in the dark. I told her what? An extraordinary man she had raised, how his thoughtfulness had touched a part of my heart that I thought had gone dormant. She was quiet for a moment on the other end of the line. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. "Oh, Carol, that means so much. You know, he's always looked up to you. When he was little, he told me he thought you were the smartest person he knew because you knew all the names of the flowers and the stars. He said you always made him feel like his questions mattered." Her words were another gift, another piece of the puzzle falling into place. The connection I'd felt wasn't one-sided. It was a bridge built from both directions over many years, without either of us fully realizing it. That night, I took my telescope out again. The air was crisp and the sky was a brilliant, inky black. I found the Andromeda Galaxy, a faint, fuzzy patch of light that Leo had told me was over 2 million light-years away. I looked at that ancient light, a traveler that had journeyed for eons just to land in my eye, in my small garden, in my quiet life. The gift wasn't the telescope or even the memory. The gift was a reawakening. It was the profound, soul-stirring realization that connection can find you in the most unexpected ways, that a kindness planted decades ago can bloom into a beautiful, life-altering surprise. Leo didn't just give me a way to see the heavens. He gave me a way to see myself again, not as someone whose best days were behind her, but as someone with a universe of possibilities still left to explore. And as I stood there, bathed in the light of distant galaxies, I felt an immense sense of peace and a quiet, thrilling whisper of what might come next. My world suddenly felt bigger,